The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen's warning echoed through the crystalline halls. The assembled representatives from 47 species regarded the human with what could only be described as amused contempt. "You dare threaten the Council?" High Arbiter Zelthor's translator rendered his chittering into perfect standard. His mantis-like form towered over the human delegation. "Your species has been part of the galactic community for barely 3 cycles. You know nothing of war." Chen's expression remained calm, almost sorrowful. "We're not threatening anyone, High Arbiter. We're warning you. The Crethean Empire's unprovoked attacks on our colony worlds must stop. We've shown restraint because we understand you view war as a ceremonial affair, but if this continues, we will respond with our full doctrine." Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Cretheans, reptilian warriors who had conquered 12 systems in the past century, seemed particularly amused. Their war master, Scareth, rose from his delegation. Full doctrine? His forked tongue tasted the air mockingly. "We've seen your military. Primitive kinetic weapons, chemical propulsion, crude armor. You fight like hatchlings playing at war." He gestured to the holofield displaying recent skirmishes. "In every engagement, you retreat. You evacuate. You minimize casualties on both sides. This is weakness." Chen's jaw tightened. "That's called mercy, War Master. Something you'll wish we'd continued offering." 3 weeks later, the Crethean fleet arrived at the human colony of New Stockholm with overwhelming force, 50 dreadnoughts against a single human defensive platform. By galactic standards, this was a glorious battle, one that would result in perhaps a few hundred casualties over several days of ceremonial combat before the colony surrendered with honor. The Cretheans had studied human tactics. They knew humans would evacuate civilians, establish defensive positions, and eventually withdraw when their acceptable losses threshold was reached. War, as every civilized species understood, was about territory and honor, not extermination. War Master Scareth watched from his flagship as the invasion began. The human defensive platform, as expected, opened fire immediately. Primitive railguns and missiles. His shields barely registered the impacts. Then something changed. The defensive platform exploded. Not from Crethean fire, it self-destructed. And in that moment, Scareth's threat board lit up like a dying star. 17 objects detached from the expanding debris field. Too small for ships. Too fast for conventional missiles. They accelerated at velocities that should have liquefied any crew, pulling maneuvers that should have torn apart any known hull design. "Evasive action," Scareth commanded, but it was already too late. The first object struck his lead dreadnought at 40% light speed. The kinetic energy released was beyond comprehension. The dreadnought simply ceased to exist, transformed into an expanding sphere of plasma. The shockwave disabled 3 nearby ships. The other 16 objects found their marks with terrifying precision. 16 more dreadnoughts vanished in nuclear fire. In 12 seconds, the pride of the Crethean fleet had been reduced by 1/3. "Retreat. Full retreat." Scareth's voice cracked with genuine fear, an emotion he'd never experienced in battle. But the humans weren't done. From beyond the orbit of New Stockholm's gas giant, signatures appeared. Dozens of them. Ships that had been hiding in complete electromagnetic silence, their heat signatures masked by the planet's radiation. Human vessels poured into the system like a tide of vengeance. These weren't the careful, restrained defenders the Cretheans had faced before. These were warships designed with a single, terrible purpose. The human fleet moved with coordinated precision that spoke of centuries of tactical evolution. Their weapons weren't ceremonial. Directed energy beams that could slag a hull in seconds, nuclear-pumped lasers, relativistic kill vehicles, swarms of smart mines that hunted ships like predators. But worse than the weapons was the methodology. The humans didn't target bridges for honorable kills. They targeted engines first, crippling ships, then life support. Then they simply waited, broadcasting a single message on all frequencies. "Surrender now. This is your only chance." Most Crethean ships, their crews suffocating and dying in the cold vacuum, surrendered. Those who didn't were destroyed with clinical efficiency. No ceremony, no honor. Just ruthless, calculated elimination of threats. Scareth's flagship was boarded. Human soldiers in powered armor cut through his elite guards like they were children. He found himself dragged before a human officer, a woman with cold eyes and insignia he didn't recognize. "I am Captain Morrison of the UHSV Retribution," she said flatly. By the authority of the United Human Systems, you are being detained for war crimes. Your fleet is destroyed. Your invasion is over. This is barbarism, Scareth hissed. War has rules, honor. You've violated every— We warned you, Morrison interrupted. Ambassador Chen explained that we were holding back, that our previous engagements weren't examples of our full capability. They were mercy. We evacuated civilians because we value life. We used minimal force because we hoped for peace. We retreated to avoid escalation. Her eyes were like ice. You mistook our humanity for weakness. That was your fatal error. The footage of the Battle of New Stockholm reached the Galactic Council within hours. The chamber that had mocked Ambassador Chen now sat in horrified silence as they watched the systematic annihilation of the Crethean fleet. High Arbiter Zelthor's voice trembled through his translator. In 3 cycles of galactic history, we've never seen such efficiency in killing. Chen stood before them again, but this time no one laughed. We tried to explain. Humans have been at war with each other for our entire history. We've perfected the art of killing our own kind with ever-increasing efficiency for thousands of years. When we joined the galactic community, we chose to leave that behind. We adopted your ceremonial approach to conflict because we wanted to be better. He paused, letting that sink in. But you need to understand something about humanity. When we fight for survival, when we're pushed too far, we don't fight for honor or territory. We fight to win, completely, decisively, without mercy or hesitation. The Crethean Empire attacked our civilians. They ignored our warnings. They're receiving the humanity they demanded. The humanity that conquered our own world through blood and fire. We gave you the civilized version of us. You rejected it. Now you're seeing what we truly are when pushed to war. The council chamber remained silent. In the holofield, human fleets were already moving toward Crethean space. Not to conquer, human doctrine was clear about that, but to ensure the threat was eliminated permanently. Let this be a lesson, Chen concluded quietly. When humans say we're holding back, we mean it. We're not bluffing. We're not posturing. We're trying to save you from yourselves, because once we stop holding back, the only mercy left is what we decide to grant. The Crethean Empire would surrender within a week. The galactic community would establish new protocols for conflict. With human involvement, protocols that respected Earth's warnings and avoided triggering their full doctrine. Response. And in quiet corners across the galaxy, a new phrase entered common usage. Don't make them remember what they are. Because the scariest thing about humanity, the galaxy now understood, wasn't what they could become. It was what they already were, and had chosen to leave behind until forced to remember.